Welcome to the Matrix Green Pill podcast, where we dive into the inspiring journeys of remarkable individuals. I'm your host, Hilmarie Hutchison, and today's guest is a true testament to transformation and resilience. From delivering mail as a postman in Southeast London to building a $25 million global coaching app that has empowered over 10,000 people in 85 countries, a certified NLP trainer, speaker, and entrepreneur, Liam is here to share his journey and the proven strategies that can help anyone turn their passion into profit. Liam, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hilmarie Hutchison, how are you?
I'm fantastic and all the better for having you on the show today, Liam. So exciting.
Absolutely.
Your story is absolutely fascinating. Let's start off by you taking us back to the beginning. What was the dream growing up and how did you end up being a postman?
I always had desires to do something great. I just had no idea what it was. I didn't come from somewhere where that was the norm. I came from a very working class family in a very, very working class area of Southeast London. I grew up with people that were of the opinion that you didn't have too loftier goals because you were only going to be disappointed. Just never sat naturally with me. It's not something that I ever believed. Thankfully, I never believed that. And also, thankfully, I had parents who were extremely supportive of whatever idea that I had. I mean, I could have told my mum and dad that I was going to be an astronaut and they would have said, yep, you probably will. If that's what you set your mind to, you'll make it happen. And so I had no idea what I wanted to do. I think I was about 18 or 19 at the time when I made the decision I wanted to become an actor, which was very unusual for anyone in my family. I didn't know any actors. I wasn't related to any actors. I couldn't stand doing drama in school, but I just woke up one day and I thought I want to be an actor. And I pursued that. And still to this day, it's one of the most significant parts of my life. I'm very fortunate to have acted in TV shows and films and a lot of theatre in London. That, when you asked me the question of, I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but what was the dream and where did it all start? That's the first time in my life where I felt like I had something really significant to aim for. And it just happens to be that I don't want to use the word fallen because of negative connotations. It's like an extremely positive thing. But I found myself within the world of business. And the only reason that I entered the world of business in the first place was because I thought it would be a good idea to be self-employed as an actor, so I don't have to ask for time off and I don't have to ask my bosses if I can attend an audition. I've been really fortunate in the world of business and entrepreneurship, and but it's still really interesting to me, like having these kind of conversations, because it was never the original aim or goal to build a very successful business. It was just the goal to have a bit of free time so that I could become an actor.
I love that. The dream was not to be a postman. I'm assuming that was just something you did along the way to get to where you were going.
I've had every job that you can imagine. I've been a lifeguard. I've been a barman. I was a junior stockbroker at one time. I was an estate agent, and I was also a postman. Being a postman, I think, was one of the most significant ones because that was the job that I had right before I started my business. That was almost, much love and respect to the postman and the male men and women out there, but it just wasn't my path. And that really was the last job where I thought, I can't keep bouncing around from job to job here. I need to do something that's more fulfilling, that adds value to people's lives, that allows me to have some freedom. Much like with all of the other jobs that I had, it was really only because it gave me some element of freedom to go to acting auditions, because, if I could deliver the mail, then I'd finish work at 12 o'clock every day and I'd be finished early. But, that really was the one where I thought, this is it now. Like, I was 27 when I finished that job. And that was the age I was when I started my business.
Okay, this is a great segue then to talking about your business. So then at that point is when you took the leap to create your own business, created the CoachApp, which has helped 10,000 individuals worldwide. So what inspired you to create this platform and how does it empower people?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I was actually introduced to life coaching at a really, really young age because my mum, when I was growing up, I think I was probably about 7, and she trained to be an NLP practitioner, which is neuro-linguistic programming. For those people that are listening that might not know what that is, it's the way that I describe it is, think about life coaching like the term martial arts. And under martial arts, there are all of these different styles like karate and kung fu and kickboxing. NLP is a style of coaching that just happens to be very deep and psychological and subconscious. And she studied intrigued this when I was younger. She was really into it. And, out of my brothers and sisters and my dad and other family members, I was the only one that would sort of listen to what it is she had to say. And she desperately wanted to share all of this new information. Other kids were getting bedtime stories and I was getting Tony Robbins and Paul McKenna and Jack Canfield and all of these incredible greats in the coaching space. And I even walked on fire at a Tony Robbins event when I was 17, just because my mum had no one else to go with. And I became a fully qualified NLP practitioner when I was 16. And it was only because she wanted more people to attend her courses. All of this information was going in, but I wasn't consciously using any of it. Well, I was using it, but I never once considered myself to actually become a coach. And it was only at 27 when I had all of these small part-time jobs and I was feeling very unfulfilled. And then I realized that I had all of these years worth of training in the coaching space that I wasn't using. And I thought that would be the perfect self-employment small business to have. Use that information, the tools, the techniques, the methods that I had learned, all of the knowledge, and start to coach people. And I thought I could do that. I could help inspire people. I could help them achieve their goals. I could help them create more focus, increase their confidence. And I did it. I threw myself into it full force. And the vision was never in the beginning to build anything big. It really wasn't. When I was a postman, I was making £267 a week, and £167 was my rent. And I had to pay for bills and food, £50 a week each. And I thought when I become a coach, if I can just make £267 a week, I'll be happy. I did that and I became a coach. I had a few clients and then I started teaching other people how to coach. And it was really when I met my business partner, Lewis, back in 2019, that we constructed the vision for something much, much, much bigger. At the time, it was this kind of small coaching academy where we were qualifying people that were interested in becoming coaches. But we knew that we could utilize technology, we could utilize social media, we could utilize the online space, and we could start training people around the world. And so we started off with online courses, and then we created a membership, and then we created an app, which is now CoachApp. And over the last 6 years, over 10,000 people have joined our membership, and we've qualified thousands of people to become coaches and help them build their business. We do so in a really fun, energetic, I like to consider a new, vibrant way to train. And it's wild, the momentum that we've created over the last 6 years. And I'm really excited to see what we're going to do over the next 6 years.
So your mom was also then an NLP trainer or coach, life coach?
Correct. Yeah. She started off as an NLP practitioner, a life coach, and then she became an NLP trainer and a life coach trainer. She does it with her own company. But it's just, it's so mind blowing to me that like all of that information was entering my brain. I never once, when I was a barman, and when I was a lifeguard, and when I was an estate agent, and I was thinking, God, I really wish I could just do something. Because the thing is, my focus was acting. That was my firm focus. So I never really considered anything else. And it only was when I got to a point where I thought I really need to do something fulfilling when I'm not acting. And it just, boom, it hit me. And I thought, oh my God. When I first became a life coach at 27, I used to say I'm the only 27-year-old life coach with 20 years experience because I'd been receiving this information ever since I was a kid. But I never once considered using it as a career or a business until the day I decided to quit being a postman.
So when you started out, you were a coach training individuals for their purpose or for their future or for their success. And then it transformed into being a business where you're actually teaching others to be coaches.
Exactly. So yeah, that's how it started off. Just one-to-one clients. These are just people who want to increase their confidence. They want to achieve their goals. They want more fulfillment. They want more focus, more clarity, all of the things that coaching tools and techniques really help with. And then after having done that for a couple of years, I then reached a stage where I was able to teach other people how to do what I was doing. That's where the shift happened initially. The biggest shift was when we moved everything online because I was doing this all completely offline. But that was one of the earliest, most significant shifts because it's just a different business model altogether. Going from coaching people to actually training people to become a coach. It's an example there, but it puts you in a position where you go from coach to trainer, I think is the best way of putting it. And then when you're a trainer, there's just so much opportunity.
Yes, and there's people all around the world that's looking for this kind of training. The app makes it easier, it makes it fun for people to become a coach. Can you walk us through what the app does? And for somebody who's never heard or never seen the app, what does it do? How do you use it?
First of all, there's a free version of the app, which is anyone can join. It's a social media platform. We've created an entire social media platform that is for coaches primarily, and now also for people that are looking to hire a coach. And in general, people that are sick of the negativity that on social media and the shadow banning and all of like the craziness that comes with things like X and Facebook. It's a social platform for positivity and constructive thought and all of the things life coaching is firmly focused on. It's a social media platform for that. It also comes with a monthly membership, which is very, very low priced. It's $10 a month. And the monthly membership takes you through a series of trainings, which will allow you to become a certified life coach at foundation level, at beginner level. It will also take you through trainings that will teach you how to get your first few paying clients. It will provide you with various different tools and techniques and methods and frameworks that you can use with those clients. And so it's really great because it's kind of beautiful mixture of training. Therefore, you're increasing your knowledge base and you're training towards doing something where you can then eventually run your own business. But it's got the social platform element as well. So you're not alone and you're interacting with all of these people that are on the same mission. When I first started, it was very lonely. You know, you kind of go through all of these different trainings, you go to a certain course and then you become friends with the people on the course. And then when the course is over, you're completely by yourself and you're there sitting alone in your apartment, building this business, barely talking to anyone. And that is one of the biggest killers of this industry. And so we wanted to create this space where everybody that was on the same journey could interact with each other, ask each other questions, get support from us, and turn it into a real social platform.
An absolutely brilliant idea, brilliant solution. And as you said, and I think we've mentioned it a few times, this was a way of helping other people achieve their dreams by making this available to them. Also love the idea that it's positive. It's some place to go where you can be supported by other people, have a social network that's positive, that's a bit different from all the negativity around us. You also mentioned you've gone through some transformations through your life, starting the business in one way and then developing into something like totally different. Scaling a business, especially a purpose-driven one, comes with its own challenges. What were some of the key lessons that you've learned while growing CoachApp?
Oh my goodness, so many. And we've fallen into so many pitfalls, which I'm very proud of. I think that you need to do that when trying to achieve great heights in any industry or in any field. To me, it's all about the pitfalls. You know, the wins are great. Of course, there are lessons from the wins, but it sounds a bit cliche, but there are considerably more lessons in the pitfalls and the problems. One of the most significant difficulties that we have faced throughout the process of growing this business is finding the right people to join the company, finding the right people to join our team to help us move closer towards our vision and astronomically help us speed up the process and make it more efficient. I've got a lot of experience now. The fact that when you interview people that apply for jobs at your company, the vast majority of them, they really, really talk a good talk, but they don't walk a good walk. It has blown my mind. Like over the years, we have gone through the interview process of interviewing people to join the company, and their CVs are amazing. Their past experience is immaculate. Their ability to interview is world class. And then they enter the company and they've got absolutely no idea how to do the job that they have interviewed for, that they apparently have all of these years of experience in. That is something that I think is so underestimated. You don't really expect that when you build a business. You know, you think, this is, I'm going to find the best people to come and join the mission, and therefore they're going to be the perfect crew for the ship and they're going to help me move closer towards my goal. I just want to advise everybody who might be listening to this, who's in the process of building a business, or maybe you're in the process of thinking about hiring your first few people. It's really tough. And unfortunately, I don't really have any sort of like magic wand answer to how to make that easier, because still to this day, it's something that we struggle with. I think it's just a lot of trial and error, and it's kind of a numbers game in a way. It's like you just got to keep going and keep going and keep going. And eventually you find the best people for the best positions. And when that happens, it can astronomically change the speed in which your business grows. So people in general are the best and the most difficult part of growing a business.
I love that you said that. I've gone through the same thing. And after a while, you really start to doubt your own intuition. I get it wrong far more times than I get it right.
Not alone. I can imagine everyone has that same experience. And I don't know why it's the case. It doesn't logically make any sense. You'd think if someone's got the experience and they interview perfectly and they're able to relay all of the things that they say they're going to do throughout the interview process, it should be a no-brainer. But it's just this strange thing that happens where all of a sudden they join and it's like all of the experience disappears and they don't know how to do the role. So yeah, that's been tough.
One motto we live by is we hire for fit, for culture, because we can always teach skill. Although, like I say, I definitely don't have it right, for sure, 100%. If someone's feeling stuck in their current job, they have bigger dreams the way that you had, they want something more, they know there's more for them, but they just don't know how to take that first step. What advice would you give them? What is the first step they should take today?
The first step that they need to take is they need to follow an exercise which will help them uncover their top 6 core values. Now, everyone that's listening to this, just Google that, right? Because there are so many different exercises, and I can imagine on YouTube, there's probably countless examples of this. It's something that you don't even need to hire a coach for, something you can completely do by yourself. But the reason it's so vitally important that you are aware of what your top 6 core values are is because I have this firm belief that uncovering your top 6 core values is the closest thing that we have to a formula for happiness. Let's say, for instance, your top 6 core values are freedom, family, wealth, creativity, and whatever, a couple more, right? When you are aware of what they are, what you will notice is every time in your life that you have felt down, you felt sad, you felt anxious, you felt angry, or you felt near enough any negative emotion that is not useful for you or constructive for you, what you will be able to do is you will be able to identify exactly which one, or all of them maybe, but which of those top 6 core values have been disrespected or they've been neglected in some way. You'll be able to say, oh, that person, said this and it made me really angry, right? You'll be able to look at that list and go, it's because it disrespected my core value of family, or it disrespected my core value of freedom. The reason why it's the closest thing we have to the formula for happiness is because if you live a life in accordance to those top 6 core values and you make a conscious effort to ensure that you are exercising them as much as possible on a daily basis, then those are the things that will make you happy. So if you're stuck in a job that you're unhappy with, you're unfulfilled, I really also appreciate people's life circumstances, right? I'm never going to be the guy that says, quit today. If it doesn't make you happy, quit today. Because logistics are a real thing, right? We've got kids to feed, we've got bills to pay, we've got a roof to keep over our head. Logistics are a real thing. But if you've got a dream that you're pursuing, it's considerably easier to pursue that dream if on a daily basis you are engaged with something that you enjoy, that you like. In the interim, at least try to find yourself in some form of job that pays the bills, that supports those top 6 core values, right? And there are ones out there. And if you're currently in one that you're unhappy with, the chances are you will be able to look at that list and say, that's why I hate this job so much, or that's why I'm dreading going to work on Monday morning, or that's why I'm feeling down whilst I'm doing the commute. Because that value, and that value, this job, it disregards those ones, or it disrespects them, or it neglects them. That's why I'm feeling unhappy. Most people kind of float along thinking, well, this is just life, isn't it? People go to work, they hate their job. Like, it's not. It really isn't, because people are not aware of what those top 6 core values are. That to me is like the baseline foundation of what is essential if you are going to pursue anything that makes you happy. You have to be aware of what they are.
Excellent advice. I love that. So anyone can go Google it, go find a video and figure out what those top 6 things are. And as you say, your life should not be a misery or drudgery, because it is possible to find a job that does make you feel fulfilled, that you do enjoy, that you don't hate every single day. That's awful.
It's almost impossible to find one if you're not aware of what your core values are. Values being those things that we deem to be vitally important. And what's also very interesting is that most people, I have a values exercise where I use values cards. And so it's a deck of cards. You can buy this on Amazon as well, by the way, I think. There's a deck of cards and there's a 180 cards. And on each card, there's one value, right? So there's freedom, family, wealth, creativity, whatever, responsibility. There's 180 of them. Now, every single one of these things are things that, we find important. And what you do is you go through this process of saying, look, I want you to just say yes or no, if it's important or not important. And then I don't want you to think about it too much. I want it to be a gut instinctual reaction. Eventually you end up with like 2 piles, and then you do the same thing again, the same process again with like the yes pile, and do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again until you end up with 6. What's really interesting is I've taken hundreds of people through that exercise, and I have never once had two people that have got the exact same top 6 core values in the same order, because then what you do at the end is you rank them from most important to least important. The most I've had is people that have got the same 6 core values, but not in the same order. And that just shows us that we're so unique. So for all of the listeners, don't ever make the assumption that the things that are important to you are important to everyone, because it's not the case. But you have to be aware of what is vitally important to you. Otherwise, your pursuit for something more fulfilling and your pursuit for something more that will make you happy, it's like trying to reach a destination, but you've got no idea what the destination is. And you don't have a map. You might drive around for a while, you might go on some adventures, you might meet some interesting people, but it's near enough impossible that you're going to reach that destination. So those top 6 core values, that becomes the destination. That's the thing you have to follow.
I love that. That's absolutely brilliant. What you said there about don't assume other people have the same values or the same outlook or the same approach to you. And I think sometimes that is a mistake we make, is we think everyone is just like us. And clearly they're not. And as you say, you've done this thousands of times. People are simply not exactly the same. That's very good insight.
Exactly.
Just to go back to the app for a second, can anyone be a coach? Or are there certain skills that you should have or certain values you need to have to be a good coach?
I find that a really interesting question, because I think technically, if we're talking about things on a technical basis, I believe that anyone can be anything. But as we've come to discover, the reason why I say technically is because we all have the ability to learn. But whether or not it's a desire for somebody is really important, because that is a big differentiator. You know, it's like, do we all have the ability to be anything? Technically, yes, because we can commit our lives to it, we can learn it, we can dedicate our time, our focus, our ability, and we can make the decision, I'm going to do my absolute best to try to make this a part of my life, or at least try to be the best I can be in this field. As an example, I'm 5'10", and I grew up in a country where basketball is not a game that is played. The likelihood of me becoming a basketball player and playing in the NBA is extremely unlikely. However, I could still at least give it a good crack and become the best basketball player that I could possibly be, but only if there was like a true deep desire to do so. So to answer your question, yes, the answer is yes. Anyone can become a coach, because anyone has the ability to learn the tools, the techniques, the methods, the frameworks, the approaches, and the questions that we ask. Anyone can learn that stuff. But what I think is really important is connecting with your reason as to why you would want to do that in the first place. That is the driving force behind how you can make anything a success. I think it's not the steps that are required, it's the deep rooted emotional driver as to why it's important to you. It is important to you, and it is something that you would like to pursue, and it is something that you think you would be good at and you would like to learn. Then of course CoachApp is the best place in the world to learn, because it's only $10 a month, and all of the training is contained within that membership. You really got to want it, because you obviously speak to some really interesting people on the podcast. And I can imagine that that is like a running theme, like that all of your guests have, is that whatever field that they have found themselves successful in, there is some kind of deep rooted emotional reason as to why they really truly wanted that to be the case. It's kind of in line with the whole top 6 core values again. It's like you have to be aware of what's important to you.
Yeah, 100%. The people who are the most successful are those who have either found their passion, they just have a passion for something, or alternatively, which is, I think you've combined them, they have found a gap in the market. There was something that needed to be filled. There was something people needed, and they were able to fill that gap. So when you bring those two things together, nothing better, because you are fulfilling your passion, but you're also serving a need. And so because of that, you can become financially very successful, because sometimes when you follow your passion, the finance or the money is not there because there's no gap in the market for it. But in your case, there was a gap for a coaching app. So you bring those two things together. So because of that, you've had a lot of success. And like you say, many of my guests have had the same, where their passion have met this need in the market that they were able to fill. Your knowledge of the things you're saying is absolutely brilliant. What's next for you, Liam? Are there any exciting projects or developments on the horizon for you?
Definitely. So what's next for us? We are firmly focused right now on our Series A funding round for the company. So We did a seed round of investment 2 years ago. We raised $1 million for the company, which was fantastic. And that really allowed us to develop CoachApp in the way that we have. Because when we first raised the $1 million, CoachApp was just an idea. Even though the company itself at that point, I think we had generated about $5 or $6 million in revenue, but it was all through selling courses. It was courses to become a qualified life coach, course to become a qualified NLP practitioner, so on and so forth. CoachApp was just an idea at that stage. And so the $1 million that we raised allowed us to develop CoachApp, which is great. Now it's about scaling it up because we are so ready for that right now. So yeah, the next thing that we're firmly focused on is that the Series A round that we're about to embark upon, we'll be looking to raise about $2 million. There's going to be a lot of people listening to the podcast, especially if they've gone through the process of building a business and raising investment, especially in the tech space, of course, which is the space that we're in, EdTech, which is education technology, where they might hear that and think that $2 million isn't a lot. And they would be right. I'm friends with a lot of people that have raised in the region of anywhere between $10 to $50 million for a tech company. But I think one of the things that has always been a bit of a secret sauce for us is we could do a lot with that $2 million. Like, we're lean. We're very, very lean. And we put money in the right places. And through trial and error, like we mentioned before, we do eventually hire the right people. And I think that sometimes it can be overkill when companies raise money. I think you can raise too much money and then there's pressure and there's too much responsibility and there's too much expectation. But we know that for this round, 2 million, that will be more than enough for us to really scale to a point where we've got a much more significant valuation.
Brilliant. Well, I wish you all the very best with raising the next round of funds and seeing you grow the app to the next level. With the background you've got, with what you've done so far, I'm sure it'll be a success. And I wish you all the very best with that next round. Now we've come to the segment of our show where I'll ask you some rapid fire questions, our version of a game show. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm always ready for a game show.
What's one book that changed your life?
It's called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind.
Excellent. What is your personal definition of success?
My personal definition of success is summed up so perfectly with this quote that I hold dear to my heart, and that is, the most successful person in the room is the one that needs the least. And I could not express to anyone how much that means to me. I have got a beautiful, incredible, supportive teammate of a wife who I've been with for the last 16 years. We've got 2 beautiful children. My daughter Posey, who's 4 years old, and my son Axton, who's 8 months old. And genuinely, wholeheartedly, hand on heart, I can say that as long as I've got this thing where I say, as long as me and my loved ones are not one of 4 things, that 4 things are happening, I'm happy. As long as me and my loved ones are not severely ill, being tortured in some way, imprisoned, or dead, those 4 things, my life is sweet. And I genuinely don't need anything. All I need is for them to be safe, well, healthy, and happy, and everything else is a bonus.
That's what I always say to my daughter. Happiness is not from the things from outside. Happiness comes from inside. Nothing else matters. So I love that.
Oh, it's so true. Happiness is a decision. I think people underestimate the power of a human's decision. Have you ever had that experience where it's like you've made a decision, you've made your mind up, that's it, no one can tell you otherwise, and you can, no matter what you say or what you do or what you show me, my mind has been made up. I've made a decision.
Yeah, I'm pretty open-minded to listen to others.
For sure, but there has to come a point. I'm open-minded to listen to everyone and anyone, and I will absorb as much information as possible. However, there's also been multiple times throughout my life where I'm like, okay, decision made.
Oh yeah, I've done that many times. And there's nothing you can do at that point to change my mind. I agree.
Exactly. That's one of the most powerful forces in the universe, is the power of a human decision. And happiness is a decision. It sounds a bit cliche. It sounds like the sort of thing that you see written on a quote with an ocean and the sun, but it's true.
Yeah, 100. One thing with me, once I've made a decision, and it can be a controversial one, I don't need to proselytize that. I can quite happily keep it to myself. That's my decision. That's the way I'm going, even if it's contrary to everybody else. But I won't waver from it. But I also don't need to change other people to my way of thinking.
I love that quote from Keanu Reeves where he said, I've reached a stage in my life where if someone says that 1 + 1 = 17, he says, yeah, you're right. Have fun.
I love it. The quote I live by, it's better to be kind than to be right.
Yeah, I love it.
I let people be, even when I know they're wrong. I'll just, okay, fine, move along. What is one daily habit that keeps you on track?
Daily gratitude. I'm actually very aware that I sound like a real cliche life coach, which I am. I guess I am a cliche life coach in many ways. But daily gratitude for me, gratitude equals happiness. I feel like if we put a firm focus on the things in our life, because I read, I can't remember I read this. It might have actually been in that book I recommended, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. I think it is. But anyway, they were talking about this study that was done where they took a group of like normal people and they put them in a room, and there was nothing in this room apart from a ticking clock. And then they took a group of Shaolin monks and they put them in a room, and there was nothing in the room apart from the ticking clock. And they hooked everybody up to the vitals machines or whatever. They discovered that the monks were consciously every single tick of the clock, where the normal people, after a very short amount of time, a few minutes, they were no longer consciously registering the tick of the clock. And what it taught us was things that repeat themselves on a daily basis soon fall into our subconscious. They're not within our conscious mind anymore. Now, the problem that lies there is that these beautiful, incredible things that we should be grateful for repeat themselves on a daily basis. For instance, the health of our children. As long as our children are not sick, on a daily basis, that repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. And the travesty is where we don't take the time on a daily basis to remind ourselves of how incredible of a blessing that is. Clean water coming out a tap, or having food in the fridge, or a roof over your head. It repeats itself every day. And like the ticking clock, we stop consciously registering that. And I think that's a travesty. So daily reminders of all of the things that are not wrong have served me really well.
Also, what you were saying earlier about the mindset, rather than be angry because your child forgot a toy on the floor in the living room, be happy there's a toy on the floor in the living room because your child's happy and safe.
Oh man, it's just so vitally important, isn't it? I think in that book as well, there's this story of like a man and his house is a mess, but exactly like you're saying, because his toys all over the floor and his wife is leaving her makeup on the kitchen side or whatever. And he's really angry about that because he wants a clean home. And then one day he got a clean home, and it's because he'd lost all of his family. And it's a case of looking at the blessings that are constantly surrounding us every day, even in those things that create frustration or anger. And there's blessings there. We got to look at those.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I ever received, I was roughly, I would say, about 1 year into my coaching business where I first became a coach. And I was struggling. I was really struggling. I couldn't quite get it to work. I had 1 or 2 clients, but I wasn't making very much money. And I was really focused on that. I was very much focused on like, I need more money, right? Because I want to be able to get a nicer home. I want to be able to go on holiday. I want to be able to get a nicer car and all that stuff. There's a guy called Paul McKenna. He's actually technically the most successful personal development writer in the world from the UK, really phenomenal at what he does. And I went to an event and I was talking to him at this event, and I told him, and I said, look, I'm sort of struggling at the moment. And he sat me down and he said, Liam, the more value you add to other people's lives, the more money you're going to make. And in that moment, I realized that all of my focus was on the wrong thing. I was like, I'm trying to make money. But what I should do is I should just add maximum value. And if I do that, the money will take care of itself. It'll be a byproduct. The more value you add to people's lives, the more money you make. And I think that is applicable to anyone and anything, regardless of what business that you want to build.
I think that's absolutely brilliant advice. Very, very good. Well, that's the end of the game show. That was easy enough. Now, I would like to ask you our signature question about your green pill moment. What was your green pill moment, the action or event that was the turning point for you or your career?
You know what? I would say the most significant green pill moment was that advice from Paul McKenna. But because I've already shared that, I'll share another green pill moment. One of the most significant moments for me was when I was a postman. There was a moment in time where, it's so funny, the things that affect you and stick with you and can push you in the right direction. There was a moment where I delivered the wrong package to somebody's front door, and this woman came outside her house so furious that I had delivered the wrong package to the wrong door that she threw it at me and it hit me in the face. And I remember thinking, I'm done now. I'm finished now. That's it, right? I've been playing with the idea of this coaching business for a long time. I am now ready to take that step and take that leap. The green pill moment was that lady throwing that package at me and it hitting me in the face, and me now thinking, now is the time to create change in my life.
I've heard lots of green pill moments. I've never heard one quite like that. What an awful lady, though. Imagine Imagine what was going on in her life to be that angry.
Exactly.
Liam, your story is absolutely inspiring. I know our listeners will walk away feeling motivated to take action in their own lives. I've absolutely loved this conversation, and I know we could just keep talking and talking and talking. Your journey proves that transformation is possible for anyone. Before we wrap up, where can our audience connect with you and learn more about you and CoachApp?
Connect with me on Instagram, which is at liam.james.collins. Also, you can follow at The Coaching Masters on Instagram, which is my primary business. You can follow at CoachApp Official on Instagram. I provide all of those links as well on my Instagram, or you can go to thecoachingmasters.com, and there's a ton of material for there. We've got the Coaching Masters podcast. We've got the Coaching Masters YouTube channel.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you again for being here today and for sharing your wisdom and insights with us today. It's been absolutely fantastic. I wish you and CoachApp all the very best.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Matrix Green Pill podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and stay connected for more amazing stories. Until next time, stay curious and keep pushing boundaries.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.